Hello everybody, this is Moses from Wilona's Cave. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you the best I can, the best I can of how I play solo. I'm trying to put everything in my mind on paper than on this video. So many of my subscribers know that I only play solo, and when I mentioned that I'm going to be playing Avatar Legends solo, I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of people asking me how. Basically, some of them said, how in the world are you playing Powered by the Apocalypse system solo? It's not supposed to be played solo, some people have said, either on my channel or on other social media platforms. You know, it's not possible. You have to have a table of people to collaborate or give ideas or build the world, etc. I mean, I understand parts of that, but know that this is not the only system of Powered by the Apocalypse I'm playing solo. I have already played many series that use Powered by the Apocalypse solo on this channel, and they're some of my most popular series on this channel. So it's very possible to play solo. Now, while I play my series of any type, really, I try my best to keep it as educational and entertaining as possible. So I am teaching you how to play, but I'm not going very in depth. So there's 4 key elements that I came up with that are paramount on playing Powered by the Apocalypse solo. So the first one is where to begin. The second one is thought process of a partial success and a missed dice roll. That's where a lot of people are having issues, I'm finding out. Third one is pushing the narrative forward, which Powered by the Apocalypse does an amazing job with. And the fourth one is relationships, bonds, and connections between PCs and with NPCs. Each of these are going to be a step-by-step process that I've written down. Now, the first one, though, of where to begin, I've already did a whole other video on. So I'll link that up right now so you can watch that if you are interested on how to start playing solo role-playing. And there's not much difference between playing it Powered by the Apocalypse or any other system. So I'm going to link the video now so you can see that if you'd like to watch that. I will go through the list, though, my step-by-step process of where to begin solo role-playing. So the first step is think of what type of adventure you want to experience. The second one is find a system that would fit the idea and the setting you want. Third one, search for inspiration. That's important. Fourth, write in a journal and focus on a conflict. Very important. On a conflict and utilize supplements. Fifth one, name your character and focus on the meaning of the name. Now that's something I do a lot when I write my books, my ebooks, short stories, or when I play games. I like to research names and find out their meaning, and it changes the story because I go after the meaning of the name for that character. And 6, what does the initial scene look like? So with step-by-step process of where to begin, I'm not going to thoroughly go through that. There's a separate video. So now with the second key element, which is thought process of a partial success and missed dice rolls. Now this is the one I get a lot of questions on, where people are just stuck. If they, do a partial success, they roll a 7, 8, or 9, or a miss where they roll a 6 or under. What do? Well, luckily, a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse systems have a list to go through, like questions, kind of like multiple choice. Some of it will be like, 4 options. So we're going to do an example with these mechanics with the character Toph in a tea shop in the Earth Kingdom. So the whole gang is in this tea shop in the Earth Kingdom. Toph, Zuko, Aang, Sokka, and Katara. All of them. So Toph as a character is pretty tough. I wonder if that has any correlation with her name being Toph. Toph. I don't know. So I thought the move with Intimidate would work well with Toph. So that's what we're going to try out right now. And we're going to do a partial success and a missed roll. And you're going to see the difference between the two and my process. So they all enter the tea shop. And they head to a table that has enough seats. It's a really crowded tea shop. They head to a table that has enough seats, and right before they sit down, someone sits down right before them and looks at them and laughs, basically saying, now it's my table. It's only one person. I'll just say it's the character named the Boulder. And a lot of the cards that you're seeing right now are from the game called Avatar: The Last Airbender, Fire Nation Rising. So let me read the move Intimidate from the book. When you intimidate an NPC into backing off or giving in, roll with passion. On a hit, they choose one. On a 10 plus, first, you pick one they cannot choose. So this move is, whatever you roll, the GM or the NPC picks out of the 4. Now there's 4 options right here. So let's say that, the boulder sits down before them, and Aang says, "Oh, let's not bother him. We'll wait for another table." Being timid. So Toph says, "The heck with that. That's our table." She slams her foot on the floor and yells out, "Hey, that was our table. Get out of here." That's Intimidate. So now we roll on Intimidate, and now she rolled a 7, so that is a hit, but that's a partial success. And now there's 4 options that the NPC can do. They run to escape or get back up. They back down but keep watch. They give in with a few stipulations. They attack you, but off balance. The GM marks a condition on them. So there's 4 options that the NPC can do. Now, you don't have a choice in that. You would have a choice of taking one of those away. So let's say you don't want to have a fight. If you rolled a 10 plus, you could take out, they attack you, let's say. And then they have to choose 3 of them instead of 4. Now, so there's 4 options. So what you can do as a solo player right now, or what I do, is I roll a d4. The d4 will decide what happens next. And I rolled a 3, which is they give in with a few stipulations. So as of right now, I hope it hasn't been too difficult to see how this all transpired. But if I'm not playing as someone that has been doing this for a very long time, if I've been playing this for the first time, when I see a few stipulations, my mind might go to a blank, like, what does that mean now? And that's where my step-to-step process will help, hopefully. So, 1 is assess the situation. So, Toph, as of right now, maybe realize that the boulder is not going to back down. So, the first step is to assess the situation. So that's when you go through questions in your mind. Did the boulder come in with anybody else? You could roll an oracle, or make your own. Roll a d6, 1 to 3, yes. 4, 5, 6, no. Then the story changes at that moment. Now, this isn't the move to assess the situation. It's not the basic move. It's just in your mind, if I was in this moment right now, what would be going on? Most likely the room will probably get quieter. Everybody's looking at us. The group, maybe Aang is telling Toph, "Hey, forget about it. Let's just leave." And then now Toph is just, ornery, like, "No, I'm not backing down. If I back down now, I'm always going to be like," let's say in her mind, "I'm always going to be a quitter. I'm not a quitter. I'm not backing down." That's the type of situation you need to think about in your head. The best way to assess the situation is to put yourself in the PC's shoes. So we go to number 2 now. What would cause a lack of progression? And here's some keywords for that. A no but, no and yes but. Or even drama. Drama would help a lot to get the story going. So in this situation, I would ask myself, what would cause a lack of progression? Now, so I didn't mention any goals that the Avatar group had. So let's say that they have to get across town. They just came here for a quick snack. They have a goal. They can't linger. So what would cause a lack of progression? So it's just a table, but Toph is a tough cookie, and she's not going to let this down. And they know that. So my thought process for the lack of progression would be that the boulder has 3 other friends in the tea shop that all stand up next to the boulder. And he basically says, "I don't want to fight you, but if I have to, I will. But if you don't want me to fight you, and you want this table, you need to do something for us." Now, there is a lack of progression. So now I have to do something in order to sit down and have a meal. They're very hungry right now, and, they don't want to go outside to eat. They want to sit down at a table. Toph, Aang, and all of them say, "Fine. What is it you want us to do? We just want to sit down and relax." Now, we'll come to that in the next list with pushing the narrative forward. So if this is a missed dice roll now, it just completely failed, And maybe something happened to Toph while she planted her foot on the floor. Maybe she planted the foot on the floor and she stepped on a nail or something like that. And she picks up her foot and goes, what did I step on? Something like that. And then the boulder and his friends are just laughing. And they just, they carry Toph out of there, and Toph is still trying to fight back. No. I'll just pull the nail out of my foot and throw it at the boulder or something like that. Something. I don't know. There goes the story, and they're just trying to all pull her back. She's just planting her feet on the floor using her earthbending skills, pulling everybody back. But, eventually they pull her out of the tea shop. Then the story continues. And with that, we'll go to step 3. Adapt and change of plans. So now they can't eat at the tea shop because Toph made a fool of herself and hopefully doesn't get tetanus from stepping on the rusty nail. And now they have to look around. Now this is where the story comes in. Do you see? This is where the story comes in. They're still hungry, like Sokka. Of course, Sokka holds his stomach and is rumbling. I could sure use something to eat right now. And what do they see? They look up. So right now I'm going to use something really cool that I love. Uncle Iroh's Dream card game. There's so many cards in here, items, events, characters. It keeps going, just the list keeps going, and there's so many cards. So I thumbed through it and found something that's interesting. Now you could just pull from it randomly if you own one, if you own this game. But I for this purpose, I just went through and picked a card that kind of makes sense. So I picked an items card, and it was fish. So Sokka smells fish. So Sokka is like curled up saying, we're going to die, or, being over dramatic. And I haven't eaten in 2 whole days. And Aang just looks down and goes, it's only been a half a day, Sokka. We had breakfast this morning. And Sokka goes, it doesn't feel like that. And all of a sudden, one of his nostrils just gets bigger and goes, what was that? Fish? And then, Momo's with them, and Momo got excited. And they all just run really quick to the fish vendor, cooking fish on the street. Do you see how this story goes, everybody? Do you see what's happening now? If I rolled a success, we would have been sitting on that table in the tea shop, most likely. And the partial success, with a few stipulations, they probably had some kind of job they had to do, like moving boulders out of the road. They got paid a few, pieces of coin for it, and they don't want to do it, and they'll say, you guys do it, and they still take the money. But something like that. But a miss, Toph steps on a nail, they pull her out of there, she embarrassed everybody, they fell on the floor outside of the tea shop, because they pulled so hard, and then, Toph finally let go of the ground. And then Sokka smells fish from a fish vendor on the street. You see how this story, those 3 different stories, everyone, that happened because of a dice roll. That's why I love solo role-playing. So back to step 3, adapt and change of plan. So the change of plan is they found somewhere else to eat, basically. And then the story goes on from there. Who knows what happens? Number 4 is optional. And I put it as optional because I only sprinkle it a little bit in my solo campaigns, where I believe the narrative has gotten a little bit stale. So when it gets stagnant, I like to ask myself, what's the worst thing that can happen, now or later? And that's pretty self-explanatory. So you can go through inspirational tables, watch a movie and say, you know what, that was pretty bad. Or watch the Avatar series and go, you know what, I'm going to bring that scenario into my game, and I'm going to see how that plays out for them. Something like that. So that's optional, and I only use that sparingly in my campaigns to spice things up a bit. And then number 5, which correlates to number 4 a bit, is roll the dice. If you're stuck, just roll the dice. Roll the dice for the basic move options, inspiration tables, or tarot cards. I've done a few of those on my channel with using tarot cards. Watch TV, a movie, read a book, and always have a journal with you. Write down that, wow, that was a really cool scene or in the movie, or, oh, that was a really good passage in the book I read. Write down that passage in your journal and use it later in your campaigns, or something like it. And now the next key element, pushing the narrative forward. This is the most requested, the most asked about aspect of solo role-playing with Powered by the Apocalypse systems I have received. So I thought long and hard about this section on the step-by-step process of what my mind goes through when I am trying to push the narrative forward. So just like in the last key element, the first step I do with pushing the narrative forward is I roll the dice for inspiration. And I just previously explained all of that. So that's the number one thing I do. If you need inspiration, roll the dice. A lot of us have a lot of tables, random tables. Just roll the dice, or even make it up. Give 4 options, like Sokka goes up to the fish vendor. Okay? Sokka goes up to the fish vendor, and I'll do 2 options. One is, they don't have enough money. Okay? The other option is they have enough money. Okay? Now, let's say I roll to make this interesting. So 1, 2, 3, they don't have enough money. And a 4, 5, 6, they have enough money. And Sokka rolled a 1, so they don't have enough money for the fish. I don't know what they were going to get the money for the tea shop. Maybe there was a sale or something like that. You know, buy one, get one at the tea shop. But they don't have enough money for fish. But Sokka's still hungry. Okay, I was about to say, Sokka tries to take a fish, you know, like steal a fish. But Sokka wouldn't do that. Sokka wouldn't do that. Or at least I don't think he would. But Momo would. And Momo's on the back of Sokka. He's on the shoulder of Sokka. So Momo, while they're talking, and they're like, oh no, I don't have enough money. And they're all checking all their pockets, everybody. And the fish vendor's saying, well, if you don't have enough money, I'm sorry, I can't sell you a fish. And then while they're all talking, all of them, with the fish vendor, basically saying, is there anything we can do to get some fish without paying? Like, do you need help with something? Like, we can waterbend. This is the Avatar. I mean, he could do anything. something to convince them. Which could be a move in a way, I guess. There's probably a move for something like that. Well, there's a move called plead, where you could plead with the fish shop owner. So I could have maybe gone that route. I haven't read too much into that move yet for this situation if it applies. But regardless, I already said Momo is going to steal. So Momo goes around, got the fish, took a bite out of it, and the fish vendor noticed and said, hey, your little lemur just took a bite out of my fish. And then Momo just goes, uh-oh, and just starts running. Just starts running away, and Aang chases after Momo, and it's like, hey, oh God. the fish shop owner, because they mentioned he's the Avatar, the fish shop owner goes, hey, everyone, the Avatar just stole fish from me. What kind of Avatar steals from the citizens of the... Do you see how crazy a story can go, everybody? I'm sorry I'm laughing a lot. If you've watched my channel a lot, I laugh a lot because it's just so funny to me to see this. I would have loved to see this as an episode. So he's basically saying the Avatar stole from me and his little lemur friend. And everybody just gets up and it's like, what? The Avatar stole from him. And, you know, Zuko and Sokka and Toph and Katara are like, no. It's okay. He's just chasing after Momo. It's a little lemur friend of ours. He's just chasing after him. He'll come right back and he'll just give you the fish. No, I don't believe you. You know, basically back and forth. You see how this goes? So, pushing the narrative forward. So this introduces step 2. Introduce new elements. NPC allies or enemies, which I'm thinking there's enemies, or they could be an ally. New locations or new challenges. Well, the new challenges is trying to probably convince people that the Avatar is not a thief. You could add in an NPC ally or an enemy. So an enemy would be that the boulder steps out and goes, what happened? And then the shopkeep, the fish shopkeep goes, hey, the Avatar stole fish from me. And then, you know, there we go. And it's like, well, if you pay me, I'll get the fish back for you and teach the Avatar a lesson. But I rather go the ally route. Now you can roll the dice again. 1 to 3 is yes, 4, 5, 6 is no, etc. But I'm going to introduce an ally. Now, during this time, let's say that Uncle Iroh is trying to find a place to buy a tea shop. He wants to own a tea shop in the Earth Kingdom. And he hears a commotion. He probably heard everything and was just shaking his head going, oh, these kids are too much. And he just steps out and puts down, let's say, I don't know, for all this trouble, he puts down a gold piece on the street vendor's fish cart. And then that vendor looks at the gold piece and goes, whoa. And then looks up at Uncle Iroh and says, for this gold piece, I would expect that you would forget all this. And this, you know, we could roll on that. But, you know, I usually don't roll with NPC to NPC actions with Powered by the Apocalypse or any system. But you could roll on it to see if that worked. So he just accepts it, tells the boulder, I don't need your help, it's okay, and basically says, no, everybody, I'm sorry, I was mistaken. So, gives the avatar a good name, puts him in good light again. No, everybody, I'm sorry, I was confused. They did pay me. I thought they didn't pay me, I'm sorry. And everybody just goes, crazy fish vendor. Then everybody goes back to their normal lives. They ignore the group, luckily. Now, going to step 3, create and remind yourself of a character's goal. Goals provide direction for the narrative and help make decisions on actions to take. So now, Uncle Iroh says, what are you all doing? Why are you stealing fish? It's like, we didn't steal fish, Uncle Iroh. Zuko's talking. We didn't steal fish. Momo, Aang's lemur, stole a fish and ran off with it, and Aang is chasing after him, and everybody thought Aang stole a fish. Oh, I see. I really like Momo. I think, Uncle Iroh seems like he likes a lot of animals. So let's say at this moment, Aang is sitting on a little dirt devil, or those little tornadoes you remember as a kid trying to run through them. Sitting on it, using his air bending abilities, and with Momo in hand and the fish, and comes back to the group and says, I'm sorry, street vendor. No, it's okay. You're paid. Everything's fine. And Uncle Iroh goes, what are you all doing? And they say, create and remind yourself of the character's goal. So they are on their way to help somebody. So they are on their way to help somebody across town. I don't know what. Whatever. They're on their way to help somebody. Now, you can go on the inspirational table and find out what they're trying to do. And let's do that. And I'm going to use action and subject tables from Mythic 1st Edition. I have 2nd Edition as well. But I'm going to use Mythic 1st Edition on action and subject. And I rolled an 8 on the action, which is oppose. Then I rolled a 23 on the subject, which is balance. So oppose, balance. So something across town is trying to disrupt the balance in this area. Maybe somebody's trying to overthrow the local government, something like that. So we're asked by the local government to stop these people from trying to take over the government or oppose them. So they tell that to Uncle Iroh, and Uncle Iroh says, I think I know what you're talking about, and I know who you're talking about. Quick, come with me to my tea shop. It's still under construction, but just come with me. Let's talk over there. And then maybe at this time, there was somebody that was listening in, and they heard that. And then they just, basically look around and then walk away. So we went with a miss on the tea shop. That's how I played this out. We went with a miss, and then we screwed up at the fish vendor as well. So let's say that was a miss. There was no dice roll, but let's say that was a miss as well. Well, there was a dice roll. Do I have enough money or don't I have enough money? And that's not a move, but it's still a miss. It's still a failure. And that's the key to this next step. Use moves and embrace failures. When I fail, the story gets interesting. When I succeed, I don't like rolling a 10 plus, except in combat. I don't like rolling a 10 plus. I like to partially succeed or fail because it makes the story interesting. Like, look what happened now. It's just interesting. I'm doing this all live. Of course, I'm editing this, but I'm doing this live. I never thought of anything like this before. I just set up the scene, and from there, Toph stepped on a nail. Sokka didn't have enough money. Aang chased after Momo. Uncle Iroh came over to save the day, and now we're going to Uncle Iroh's tea shop. So embrace your failures. And a lot of systems have a mechanic in their failed rolls where you gain an XP. I think that's a great idea, even for Avatar Legends. Like, it's up to you. You could homebrew or change any rule you want. If you fail a roll, just say you have XP now. And then step number 5, it just reaffirms all the steps. With all the above, if used, creates a dynamic campaign. So remember, pushing the narrative forward is the most important thing probably in anything. A movie, your life. Your life will be boring if you didn't push your own narrative forward in life. RPG game, video games, everything. Pushing the narrative forward is extremely important. And I'm just trying to reaffirm that in step 5. Okay, so now they're all in Uncle Iroh's shop. Tea shop. It's all dusty. Not everything's put together, but there's always tea being made. So he has tea being made, and it's the best tea in the Earth Kingdom. And everybody just smells the tea. It's like, that smells delicious. So this leads to the fourth key element: relationships, bonds, and connections between PCs and with NPCs. That, I believe, is one of the most important things in Powered by the Apocalypse systems. Dungeon World has it, Avatar Legends has it, etc. So the first step I go through in my head when I'm trying to create bonds for the group is 1. History between characters. That's the best one. If they have history, it helps a lot. Now, with Sokka and Katara, they met Aang, basically he was just in an ice bubble, basically, an air bubble in the ocean. So they didn't have any history with them at all. But luckily, Katara correlated where, I think you've been in this water for 100 years. And, that probably helped the story along. But 2 of the 3 characters had a lot of history, brother and sister. So in this instance, history between characters, they all sit down to have, let's say he has a few cookies out, but they're waiting for the tea. They're all sitting down at the table. They're all smelling the tea being made, and they're having a little bit of cookies. Sokka and Momo are having more cookies than the rest. And then Zuko says, "Thank goodness Uncle Iroh came. I don't know what we were going to do." History between characters. Okay? That is Zuko and Uncle Iroh. Now, obviously, the rest of the crew knows Uncle Iroh as well, but they don't have as much history like Zuko does. And then, at that moment, Uncle Iroh comes with a tray of cups and a huge tea kettle, piping hot, and starts pouring it in for everybody. And everybody's just slowly sipping it and just relaxing. It just calms them down. And because they're calm, they start reflecting on the past few months, where we're leading to step 2, shared conflict or conflict with each other. So they have had conflicts all this time. Every episode in the show is conflict. You don't have a story without conflict. Uncle Iroh sits down and says, "So I haven't seen you guys in over a month. How has it been?" And, they're basically saying, "We did this, we did that. We almost fell off a cliff here and this." And then Zuko looks down slowly and reluctantly says, "Uncle Iroh, Aang and I had a fight about a month and a half ago. We didn't speak to each other for about a week." And Uncle Iroh's sipping and stops sipping and looks over and goes, "Oh, yes? What happened?" And they explain something happened between the two. They had a little fight, a disagreement. And Zuko looks up at Uncle Iroh and says, "It was..." And then Aang interrupts and says, "It was a misunderstanding." And then Zuko looks over at Aang and smiles. So now you can see that there was conflict that the group experienced, on their adventures. And you could also see that there was conflict with each other in the past, but they seem to have gotten over it. And that's why Zuko was smiling and felt a lot better about himself. Then we go to step number 3, shared direct and indirect goals. So all their goals right now is just to survive, but also to get across town and work together and try to make this Earth Kingdom a better place for its citizens. But they're all together on that. They all agree that this is a worthy goal. And if they aren't, let's say that Toph isn't so agreeable. And let's say that Toph, gulps down a whole bunch of boiling hot tea and just wipes her mouth and burps and says, "I think that group that we're trying to meet and fight off, I think we should just leave them alone." And they just basically say, "What are you talking about? I think we do too many things for everybody else. It's time for us to do things for us sometimes. Look, everyone, we couldn't even afford food. Why are we going to help feed other people when we're starving?" Basically stuff like that. She just makes her point across a little bit. It doesn't sound so condescending or selfish after a while of explaining a few things, and the team kind of agrees. And then Uncle Iroh steps in and just says, Toph isn't entirely incorrect. You have to think of yourselves. I mean, how powerful can an avatar even be if he's hungry and tired? And Aang just looks down and just says, "I am tired. I'm so hungry. It's affecting my airbending." And he's trying to airbend something and out of one hand, but the airbending goes out of another. It's like, you see, it doesn't work right. I don't know, something weird. So now with step 4, shared thoughts. Now, the thoughts that they have are important. That's a very key element to add to this step-by-step process. They have to have shared thoughts. So if your characters in your solo role-playing do not have shared thoughts, it kind of like, it's going to break the party up. It's going to break the party up because it's going to really affect your journaling. It's going to really affect your writing, your role-playing, your thought process if all the characters don't have the same thoughts in mind. So let's say that Katara is only thinking about her father. Her mind's not in the game, and it's affecting her waterbending. It's affecting her healing ability. It's affecting them in combat. Like, they've lost combat situations where Katara was about to do something amazing with waterbending and save the team, but she got a flashback of her father, calling out to her or something like that, and the water just falls. She can't bend anymore. Her chi is all screwed up. And then the last step for connections is shared feelings. So that's extremely important that they have shared feelings and they share their feelings. That's where a lot of this system is about balance. Like, let's say Toph, for instance. Toph is the primo example of this, where Toph in the beginning is, I don't need your help. I don't want to basically talk to anybody. I could do this on my own. I could do whatever. Don't tell me what to do. Yada, yada, yada. It wasn't until that Toph met Uncle Iroh on the cliff, on the edge of a cliff. I think it was a cliff. I'm trying to remember without looking at a picture. But it was in the hills where Toph and Uncle Iroh, I believe they were having tea and they talked to each other. Where, Uncle Iroh showed that, sometimes you have to ask for help and et cetera, et cetera. Maybe I should be more open to my friends and let them help me and ask for help. And while she was walking away, Toph looks back at Uncle Iroh and says, I think your nephew could use some help too, or maybe you need to ask for help or something like that, where it was significant to Uncle Iroh, where Uncle Iroh looks down and thinks about that for a while. And then they ended the scene at that moment. And that is my How to Play Powered by the Apocalypse solo list. Now, I'm going to include this list in the description below, so you can just copy and paste it into your documents and just print it out and have it for you as well. Now, I will continue to keep updating this, and if I do, I'll probably release another video. I am loving Avatar Legends. The series will start sooner or later, but I got a lot of series going right now on my channel. I have Pirate Board going on. I have Dragonbane. I have a whole bunch, and I'm trying to restart my Dungeon World campaign. That's original team. My favorite team when I started this channel using Dungeon World with Gorm, Avon, Sinethel, Damara. So I need to finish one of those before I continue on doing Avatar Legends. So Avatar Legends is like really, really precious to me. I love it so much. So I can't wait to start playing that. So we did do a little bit of role-playing with this system, but I was trying to teach you. But you can see how fun the story can be with this system. But that goes for any Powered by the Apocalypse system because you are living in the narrative. That's the key. You're living in the narrative. And if you really need practice, I would suggest watching people play Powered by the Apocalypse or playing in a group. Then get the gist of it and then play solo. But I hope this helped. If there's any other questions or anything you'd like to know, let me know in the comments below. And happy solo gaming, everybody. Bye.